Good morning, Marysville. My name is Celine, and I'm here with my co-host Seth, and we are here interviewing Ron Chapin, a teacher at Marysville Getchell High School. How are you today?
Very good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good. Okay, so.
Do you know this is my third time on the show now?
Third?
Third time.
Okay, well, you're lucky to be here again.
Well, yes.
We like you.
And I'm expecting, like, at some point a gold watch or something for, maybe my fourth time on.
Well, I mean, we got presents here.
I'll be opening one of those presents after. We're going to get to the bottom of these presents here.
Yeah?
Yes.
This one's for you. You
Thank
can
you.
take it when you leave.
Oh,
It might be an empty box.
Thank you.
but-
All right.
All right.
This is going to be good.
So to get started, because you are a teacher here,
Yes,
I'm going
I
to ask you about your teaching career.
All right.
How long have you been teaching in general?
Oh, crap. 17 years, I think, now. This might be my 17th.
Started
16
teaching-
completed, and then this is my 17th year, I think.
You started teaching when I was born.
Yes, another way to make me feel old, Celine.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I know. She just told me, like, before the show that her mom's a year younger than me, so that made me feel good, too.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is
wow.
my 17th year of teaching. Not just high school, I started in junior high. I taught 10 years. It was Marysville Junior High, which then switched to Totem. I did 1 year as a middle school, and that was pretty much it for that. I couldn't handle that grade, and it was time for me to move up. So then I moved to MP, where it was the second year of small learning communities, which are really awesome, by the way. Got a year there in existence, and then moved up here after 2 years at MP up to Marysville Getchell High School for the transition from schools. So I was here year one.
So why did you decide to come up to Getchell instead of staying at MP?
Well, with MP, when we went up there, I went up there with the idea that I was still part of International School of Communications. And so I was still part of that crew, and we were just waiting for this high school to be built. And then so after 2 years it was built, and everyone moved up to the hill, to Marysville Getchell High School. So, yeah.
So what made you want to be a teacher?
Well, right out of college, I was involved in a lot of athletics growing up, and that was something that I just loved being involved in that, and it's where I met all my friends growing up and learned a lot of things about life and involved with sports and just being competitive and enjoying sports in general. And then when all that was over, I wanted to coach, and so I started coaching, and then took summer jobs working with special needs kids, and almost every year I had something where I was working with kids, and I thought, gosh, I should be a teacher. And so at University of Washington at the time, they didn't have an ed program that you could take in the first 4 years of college, so you had to get a degree first and then go and get a certificate.
Right.
And so in the meantime, while I was getting my certificate, that's when I was doing those kinds of jobs and figured it'd be fun to teach, and haven't looked back since. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Was it pretty hard to become a teacher, or is it pretty easy?
It changes through the years. So for me, I had to get the degree first, which I'm glad because I have tons of credits, and you get paid more the more credits you have. So that part was nice.
That's nice to know.
Yeah, right? See? But it took some more coursework, and so had to go get another 90 credits after my degree to get certified, so that took a couple years. And then while I was doing that, I was an educational assistant at Marysville Middle School. So I was getting some work done there. I got a lot of credits and my practicum and observation stuff waived because I was working with kids a lot and they're already involved in the schools. And so nowadays there's a lot more hoops to jump through. There's a lot more things that they're required of. Mr. Ripley was doing some coursework or something to keep his credentials going. So in anything in life, there's going to be hoops. Just some have more than others.
Right.
But definitely there's hoops in education for sure.
So I heard you said you play sports.
Yes.
What sports do you play?
Well, not anymore.
Well,
I wish. I play spike ball with Christopher every once in a while, and Christopher runs me rampant. So, no. In high school, I played football was my passion, my love. I played a little basketball until my senior year. Then my sophomore year, I decided to run track, and it was my least favorite. I had a really good friend in high school, still friend to this day. He was on your show, Mr. Taylor, the fire department battalion chief for Marysville Fire and singer at the Seahawk game you guys had on the show. That's the friend I'm talking about. And he loved track growing up, and so he talked me into it my sophomore year. I went out the very last day you could try out for the sport in spring. I'm like, all right, I'll try this thing out. And it ended up being the sport that I ended up being pretty good at. And so, yes, I went on to run for University of Washington after high school because of that decision.
what were your initial thoughts on track?
oh man, you sit back and you watch it, it looks like a lot of work. It's, you don't get the immediate feedback or, that you get in football. It's, you do quick plays and you're moving on to the next play. And running, I ran the mile. So, in college I ran the mile. In the high school I ran the 800. So, you're committed to 2 laps and it hurt the whole time. And it's, running kind of comes down to how much pain you can take and stay at a fast rate. And so, the fun, I think, is the competition part. And then if you end up winning, of course, it's, it's one of those things that kind of keeps calling you back. It's like, 'cause I love winning. And so it didn't matter really that I wasn't too, I liked the sport, but I didn't have a passion or love for it like I did the other sports. And so with that one, it was a strength of mine. And so I went with it. It helped pay for school. And like I said, being competitive, I still, when I'd win, I'd love it and I'd want more. And so, yeah, I ended up being good at that sport.
So what made you stop wanting to play football and do track?
So I still did the whole football thing until I graduated. I had a few options when I graduated high school. There was I could have walked on at Boise, a lot of local colleges that were interested, Western, UPS, PLU, Central, football,
okay.
And then Willamette, some out of state. So I could have played it, but it would have been at a smaller scale. Mm-hmm. And growing up for me, with my dad always loved University of Washington, and I fell in love with him when I was little. And I was Husky everything. And so growing up, the fact that I could be involved in some sport at University of Washington, plus it paid more, and it was a D1 school as opposed to the other schools that are a lot smaller, so it was better competition. I went with the University of Washington. There's still times where I look back and go, God, what would have been like to play football at that level? But I think of all the injuries I've accrued just in sports in general, maybe I would have been worse off playing football, with concussions and, the knowledge we have now about that sport. I love it and I love watching it, but man, I think I made a good decision for me to not do it. But man, there's still those times I think back and go, what would it have been like to play some college football? But, no regrets. I think about it every once in a while, but I loved what I accomplished in track.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you accomplish in track at the university level?
So in high school, it's kind of just by chance. I actually quit basketball my senior year. As one of those things where I kind of got moved around a lot, and I think at that point it was kind of 3 years of moving around a lot, and I had enough. And at that time I was getting a lot of interest from colleges, more locally, some nationally, Tennessee, at some point Florida State were interested. So I started getting some major college interest in all the Pac-10 schools, and I was like, maybe I should spend a little more time preparing for my senior year and really go after a good scholarship and see if I can get more money. So I just happened in Edmonds, they have these open track meets that you could do at night, and it was in January, which I wasn't in that good a shape at that time. When I went and ran this race in January, it was the mile. I didn't want to run my race, which was the 800 in high school, which is 2 laps around the track. So I didn't want to run my race. I have all season to do that. So I ran the mile just for the heck of it. And in that race, at that level, you kind of know in state who kind of the runners are, the best ones, because my year before, I think I finished the top 6 in state for the 800. So I kind of knew what I was up against. And so I didn't recognize any names. I'm just going to run the mile, run it kind of easy, run it for a workout. Well, in this race, this kid just took off right away. And I was like, my ego back then was like, I'm not going to let this kid I don't even know beat me. So I went after this guy. And this kid just kept going and going. I finally caught up to him at the very end, and I know I beat that kid. It was one of those photo finishes, and I was pretty ticked because they said the other kid won. But this old guy comes walking up to me and says, I think you beat that kid. I said, I think I did too. Didn't know that was the head coach of the University of Washington that said that to me. And the kid I beat was a University of Washington runner who was an 800 runner at University of Washington I didn't know this at the time, but the UW coach would use that Edmonds meet to bring some of his runners to kind of get competition and train. And so I ended up running against his runner and beating him. And so at that point, that coach was really interested in me. And so I got a lot of looks at University of Washington right after that, and then ultimately got my scholarship. And so when I moved up to college, I ran the mile. He wanted me to run the mile, and that's definitely a tough race in college because when you go up to that level, in high school you can get away with beating people just, it's kind of like swimming, track, whatever. When you have fast people, oftentimes in high school, there's going to be meets that aren't as competitive.
Right.
In college, at that level, every meet's like a state meet. It's that much competition,
Wow.
and sometimes better. The national champion in the mile was in the Pac-10, Pac-12 now, and he was at Wazoo. A guy from Kenya I was running against a Kenyan that was like 26 years old and the national champion in the mile, and he...
Did you beat him?
No.
Oh.
No. But I saw what he looked like from behind because I was chasing him the whole time. And that guy, he was very, very good, very talented. Sam Kibiri was his name. Very talented.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of fun.
We will be back with this in a second. We are going to transition to a segment called Detention, and we will keep talking about your track.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Mr. James. I am Mr. James, and I will be your detention teacher for today. So please be quiet. So how's your day been?
It's been pretty bad.
Same. There's just been a lot of teacher drama going around this school. Okay, bye.
Welcome back, Marysville. Once again, I'm Celine. This is my co-host Seth, and we are here with Ron Chapin. Right before the break, we were talking about track.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I had a conversation with you earlier. You were telling me about this really big competition that you ran in Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Well, every year with the Pac-10 teams, you'll face off at some point in dual meets and sometimes the bigger meets. And so the schools that we probably went to the most were Arizona State. Every spring break we went there. We went to Wazoo and we'd trade off. So they don't do as many dual meets as they used to, but we traveled a lot and then we'd host them as well. The best place to run, in my opinion, the whole nation is University of Oregon. Now I have a tough time saying that because if you guys know anything about University of Washington and Oregon, that is a huge rivalry. But I'll tell you, going to University of Oregon and running is fantastic. It's so cool. So if you were to go back and then, I don't even know what it's like today, and go watch a track meet at University of Washington, and if you were to go to Cal University and watch a track meet, you might have a few hundred people on a good day. You go to University of Oregon on any day there's a track meet, that's D1 athletes competing against their school, it's packed. Thousands of people, thousands. And so I always enjoyed going there. I ran all my best times at Oregon. It was always a packed stadium, which when you're not used to running in front of people, I flourished in that environment. I liked the attention, and I loved when the TV cameras were on. So my senior year, Prime Sports Northwest was there. They were filming the whole thing, and I won the mile. We went 1-2 in the mile, which we went 1-2 in every distance event, which is the first time in like over 10 years that's ever happened against Oregon at their stadium, Hayward Field.
So you were really overwhelmed and excited
Oh,
about
man.
that.
Well, it was cool because when you win, back when Prefontaine ran at Oregon, so for the runners of the world who know who Prefontaine is, a famous runner for the United States who came from Oregon and ran at University of Oregon. And when he would win, he would always do a victory lap. And the fans loved it. So he was a huge hero at University of Oregon. And so he kind of started a tradition. When you win, you do a victory lap and they give you a standing ovation. Well, they kept that tradition. So if you win at all, as an opposing team that goes into Eugene, and if you win, they will stand up for you and give you a standing ovation. And you do a victory lap. It's part of their tradition, which is really cool. So we won, and me and my friend, because we went 1-2, we got to do a victory lap, and they all applauded. It's just out of this world if you've never competed in an environment like that where the home team is giving you props for a great race. And they appreciate really good running there. And I have talked about all I'm going to say about positive things about Oregon. It stops there.
What happens if you don't do the victory
Oh,
lap?
did I mention that UW beat Oregon 70 to whatever this year and set a record in football?
Oh, yeah?
I have to give one negative towards Oregon because
Okay.
I talked too positive about the track program. Football team got wrecked this year. Anyway, what's your question?
What happens if you don't do the victory lap?
Well, one year, this Wazoo runner, he won the 800, and he was kind of arrogant. And so he finished his race, and he was pretty, kind of egging the crowd on, and he didn't do his victory lap, and they booed him
Oh, wow.
at a track meet. Yeah, it was weird, but funny too, because It's Pullman. It's
It's
Wazoo.
Pullman.
Yeah, I was like, it sucks to be that guy.
Just like,
In a lot of ways.
You also said that you've been to several other universities and you travel a lot. Was that your favorite part of being on track team?
Yeah, because, well, it depends on the place. Like, I love going to Tempe, Arizona State. We went there every spring break, and it was just, the weather was great, the facilities are cool. I like traveling around and seeing the different places, so the big meets were the fun ones. Like, we went indoor meet my junior year. We got to run at the national championship meet for indoor track, which was at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. So when you hit a national standard, I mean, there's a certain time that if you hit, that NCAA will pay for everything, so it doesn't cost the university anything. So we hit a standard in the 4x800, and so there was a few of us that got to go to national championships my junior year and run in that race. It was pretty cool. Against some top, Florida was there, Villanova, a lot of East Coast schools that you normally wouldn't see. So it was pretty cool. I enjoyed that part of it, seeing different places, competing against, schools you heard about when you were a kid. And I was a huge basketball and football fan, so the fact that I got to compete against Georgetown and Villanova and Seton Hall and these universities, that I saw on TV, I got to compete in track. So that was kind of cool for me.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, if you're into sports.
Yeah.
Would you say Oregon was the best place or Oregon State was the best place you ran at compared to everywhere else you went?
As far as facilities go, you can't beat Oregon,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I mean, even as cool as the Hoosier Dome was, I mean, back then that's where the Colts played.
Yeah.
And it's a big dome that was much like the King Dome for those who were around when the King Dome was around. And they put a 200 bank track, which is all wood planks, inside this tiny stadium. So it was cool to be there, but it didn't have the feel. Like when you're at Oregon, you're at Oregon because it's just, I mean, it's packed with people and there's so much tradition. You go to Seattle, and if you're around the U District, you're going to see mostly football stuff around that's promoting UW football. In Oregon, you'll see a lot of track for Oregon. You're not seeing football and basketball plastered everywhere. You see track, and it's just a different experience. When you're used to competing at places where it's not really well attended, and you go there and you're like, God, this is a dream. So you can't help but just be, fall in love with Oregon when you run there.
You're like, hello.
Yeah, especially if you win. If you lose there, it sucks because they're going to rub it in, and just because the fans are so loud, so you just got to sit there and take that. But if you win, they still give you that respect. So
They have really good sportsmanship then.
they do.
Yes.
And then just the track is nice. I mean, every year if you watch track or follow it, it seems like they're hosting nationals or Olympic trials are there. So major, national events are being held at Oregon because the facilities are so great.
Nice. All right. We'll also be back again. We're going to transition to another segment.
Awesome. And no more talk about Oregon. Right?
Yeah, no more Oregon.
No.
No.
How was work?
It was pretty good, just I'm really tired.
Oh, that's good. I forgot to tell you. Meow.
I have to go. Wait! Go off. I need to quit my job.
should do this all in Spanish.
Welcome back. I'm Celine, and this is Seth, and we are here with Ron Chapin. Let's see, anything you want to ask?
So let's move on to about your band. We haven't really talked about
Band
that yet.
days. Yes, you guys have had two of the members of my band, our band. You had Tiger Budbill on here last year, and then Michael Wassman as well. So yeah, both of them. I think, gosh, Tiger was on X Factor season 1, and then Michael was The Voice season 2, and both of them did very well.
That's awesome.
And I remained a school teacher. No, I was in a band, and it was a lot of fun. Michael's still doing his thing, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
So what made you want to be in a band?
God, great question. I don't know. I mean, I never took choir in high school. Never played in band or anything like that. It was after college. I think I was messing around with karaoke or something like that, and I remember some people saying, "Hey, that sounded good," and so I was like, "Okay, let's sing some more." And I kind of did that for a while and just having fun doing karaoke, and then it kind of got, I ran into some different people. You meet people along the way, and started doing open mics and things like that, and then ran into all of those band members that were on those shows. I ran in at this one place in Kirkland called Da Vinci's, and it was God, back then at Da Vinci's, you saw, I mean, no joke, there was Seattle Seahawks hanging out there. Gary Payton was hanging out there for the Sonics. It was a big, popular place. And they had one part of the establishment was for open mic singing, and Tiger ran it. That was on the show. It was in my band. It was on your show, sorry. But he ran it, hosted it all. Then upstairs, you could do dancing and things like that. So this place had a lot of things that it offered. And so there was a lot of different singers that would, a pretty popular place for musicians would come in there. Even musicians would come and play, and saxophone player that was really good back in the day. And so we met up there and decided to do a group thing. And this was before the boy bands. And I know you're going to call me a boy band.
Dang.
I know, I'm going to jump ahead of this. And it was not a boy band. Now, we were an R&B group. And that's different, but oftentimes in an R&B group, as soon as you add a white guy to it, it becomes a boy band. And but we did more R&B style stuff. So if you were to compare to artists, yeah, we looked up to Boyz II Men and groups like that. But we were more the, for those you're not going to know these groups, but Jodeci, Blackstreet,
Oh, I know
different
them.
groups, yeah, that we
Just kidding.
like. See, of course,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you back for that, Celine. But I mean, it was we all had this passion for the same kind of music.
Right.
We liked the harmonies and stuff like that, and so we met up, ended up doing a demo together, did like 3 songs, and when we made the demo, it made noise in the Seattle area. It was crazy. We started doing bigger shows. Got nominated for the North. I didn't even know they had a thing called the Northwest R&B Awards, but we got nominated and we got to perform at Showbox. God, sitting there watching a few celebrities that were in town. So it's kind of cool to do that. And then it turned into something bigger. We were in a contest in Seattle. As strange as this sounds, it was a place called the 700 Club, and it was an all African American bar, which might beg the question, Mr. Chapin, how did you end up getting in there? Well, one of our group members is African American, was African American, and they heard about our group and they invited us to perform at this thing for a competition. The competition winner got to open for Steve Harvey, which if I would have said Steve Harvey 5 years ago, most of you guys would have said, I don't know who that is, but ever since he screwed up at the beauty pageant, everyone's like, I know who Steve Harvey is now. Well, he's a very good comedian, and he sold out the Paramount Theater, went to the 700 Club, won the competition, and invited us to open for Steve Harvey.
Wow.
And so that's the most nervous I've ever been. At any sporting event, which I've been nervous at some of my sporting events I've been to, but this probably trumped them all. Just that feeling of going on stage and know you're opening for a famous act. And I looked in the front row, and there's Nate McMillan, Gary Payton, the whole Sonics are sitting right in the front row going, entertain me, and so that pressure of being good. And we did 2 cover songs. Genuine was one song we did. The singer was Genuine. The song's called Pony.
Oh, I like that song.
And then we did our version of it, and then which kind of went into some little montage of some other songs, but all really good harmonies. And so we were walking backstage, and we did our one song, and we were all pumped up, and we walked backstage, and here comes Steve Harvey backstage with 2 security guards that were like 6'9", just stacked. And he comes up, and he's like, think you guys could do this on my show? We're like, what show? And he ran Showtime at the Apollo back then. and he hosted it. It's a talent show. This is before they had The Voice, X Factor. So if you were a musician, this was kind of the only thing that you could go on and get noticed. So he invited us to his show. So we were pretty pumped up. We're like, oh, we just got invited to a show that's going to get national attention. Maybe we'll get signed, those kinds of things. Well, when we got back to our dressing room, there was a producer sitting there named Ray Barnes from Positive Image Entertainment. And he flew us to Beverly Hills a week later.
Wow.
Gave us, so he was in there, picked us up. He was there to see another act. And then he noticed us, and he said, I want you guys. And flew us out the next week, all 4 of us. Wine and dine us. It was kind of, we got to stay in Beverly Hills in a nice hotel. It's kind of like that scene you've seen in movies where they have that long conference table and all the bigwigs are sitting at the table. And then they go, okay, sing. And it was so nerve-wracking to, like, all of a sudden we got to get up. We haven't warmed up or anything. And then we had to be on because we're performing now for these people that are kind of financing the whole thing. Went well. They said, we want to sign you.
Wow.
Gave us each $5,000 to sign with them. And I still didn't want to sign with them.
Why?
Because I still felt like we needed to go on Steve Harvey and see if we can get more noise. And it would have been the better move. So we signed with these guys, did an album. I would fly over the weekends, on the weekends and do the recordings and stuff. And we did an album. And it just never went anywhere. At that time, the boy band started hitting. And so we had kind of a different vibe, and it just didn't mesh well with the time. And so it's kind of like getting shelved, is what they would say in music. So they shopped it around to Maverick, Sony, different record labels. Maverick was an affiliate of Sony. But Maverick back then was Madonna's label. And so she heard it. Some other, kind of people that were in the industry heard it, liked it. But we didn't fit the image they wanted. They wanted young, kind of dancey, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees.
So you
those
just
kinds of
didn't
groups.
fit the boy band theme.
See, now I can
Yeah.
say we were not a boy band because they said we weren't.
Nice. Well, we're gonna cut
And then
to.
said we're going to take your music away too. Anyway, keep going.
We're gonna cut to another segment break.
Awesome.
All right, here we go.
All right, enjoy it.
This is great. Now I get to exercise myself as I walk to the Chapin. Gosh darn it. Oh, now I can make sure I don't trip.
Always have to fix this freaking crappy shirt.
Hey, now I get to clean this off and be just like Emma Ray.
I really hate when people clean their paintbrushes.